Guillain-Barré syndrome. Everything tested good. She was able to walk out of the hospital after a couple of days after being on antibiotics and anti-inflammatories. So then she finally went back to school, finished her last 2 months there in kindergarten. She was able to get better over the summertime, back to her normal bubbly self, which was awesome. Praise God. And then she began first grade in August, same wing of the school, right across from the hall from where she was in her kindergarten class. And she immediately began showing the same symptoms that she had the year before. Sorry, this is hard to go through. So anyways, we got her pediatrician said, hey, let's test her for mold. She got tested for mold. She had 2 really high counts of toxic mold in her body. The urinalysis revealed. We got our house tested next day, basically. All of our testing came back clean in our house. We turned to the school and they were able to do an air quality and mold inspection at the school, which was great. And then we requested the results of that. The school sent us 5 pages of an 11-page report. The 5 pages were the good pages. The 6 pages that were omitted from the report they shared were the bad pages. We asked for those pages to be given to us, sent to us. They said we're going to have to do that through the public information request, which we did. And they were able to, initially they sent us the 21-page lab results. And then they sent us finally the 6-page report, the 6 missing pages, which revealed that there was some serious mold issues going on in the bathroom. The company actually says that a licensed contractor should be engaged to make sure necessary inspections and repairs to all the plumbing in the bathrooms, ensure pipes aren't slowly leaking, and if so, properly fix the problem. They also said they are led to believe there may be a pipe between the girls' and boys' restroom and the wall cavity that may be leaking. Whenever we got our initial 5 pages from the school said this should answer all your questions. And they basically said everything is good. We then received the next 6 pages about a week later, and that revealed that everything was not good. And we almost sent our daughter back to school, back into that environment after we got the initial report. So that's a synopsis of what's happened here. It's taken a month. They finally hired a construction company to come in and remediate whatever was going on. They did find that the metal studs in the bathroom wall had been corroded over time, so they had to rip those out and put new wood studs in. So the problem's been going on there for a long time, is what I'm getting at. And I feel like the school was very deceptive in sharing the 5 pages, the good 5 pages of the report with us, and not sharing the 6 bad pages. And my concern is basically why would the school be misleading about that? Why didn't they handle it and address it? We spent $65,000 in medical bills to try and get our daughter diagnosed, and the problem was right there in the school the whole time. So she has been out of school for a month, and she is back to her bubbly self again. So I don't know if that's a correlation, but it sure seems like one to me. Thank you for the time, and just want to, we teach integrity. You're teaching integrity to your kids, responsibility, taking accountability. And I just don't feel like that's what's happened here at all with the administration and the back and forth between facilities and school. And but thank you for allowing me to come here and voice my concerns. And I don't know if anything can be done about it, but it feels good to talk about it. So appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, can't comment specifically about the report because I haven't read it or anything else, but definitely we'll take a look at it and have conversations with the leadership directly.
I appreciate that. Yeah. It just seemed like it was so hard to get anybody to give us an answer. They sent us the initial report, and then they said, hey, you got to talk to the facilities. Well, facilities is just sending us, little bits and pieces at a time. Finally got enough information to put enough pieces together. Had we not pursued this, the problem would still be there, and I know that there are a bunch of kids that are going through the same things that our kid went through. And a lot of the teachers are going through some issues too there. So
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
yeah, thank
Thanks
you.
for letting us know. Appreciate it.
This, you're here just as a monitor, right? No public comments for you? Okay, good. Sorry. Thanks. So we just jump into the agenda.
Yes, sir.
I think we're going in a closed session, so I think I have to kick you out. And everybody else. So, thanks. Let me just read this before I pursuant to section 551 spot 074, 551 spot 076, and 551 spot 089 of the Texas Government Code, we are authorized to go into closed session. No votes will be taken until we reconvene in open session. All right. So who do we need?
We need Steve here, Steve and Robert. And Sarah, Aaron, you can stay here. Aaron, if you need to stay. Sarah, you stay.
So they need to say, we should say that a quorum is still present, all board members are still present.
And Sarah, tell us when you're ready to record. We are live streaming, but we are going to need to hit record on Zoom before we go back into open session.
Thank you. We're back in open session. There are no actions to take out of our closed session meeting. All board members are still present, and I don't think this is required, but the time's 11:08. So we're going to jump to a video highlight, which you see on the agenda.
We are rolling out some videos this year for our 25th anniversary, and we're excited to show you this first video. You've seen a few of the clips, but they've been compiled together in this. I think it's about a 3-minute video.
At ResponsiveEd, we understand the significance and earnestly accept the responsibility of educating our youth. We believe that we aren't just imparting knowledge, but we are moving minds and hearts for a new generation to lead a free society. To commit ourselves to this mission, we know that we have to be more than educators. We are visionaries. We understand that the learning landscape is changing and will continue to progress into the next generation. We are architects. Years of experience creating, implementing, and refining successful schools give us the advantage to efficiently expand into new regions to positively impact the community and its young people. We are pioneers. Those who choose to do what we do passionately accept risks, willingly creating a place for the new to become the now for all learners. We are educators. We have committed ourselves to being so much more because we know that today's learner is so much more than just a student.
This place offers so many opportunities. I'm thankful for it.
You really get to participate at the school. And I don't think I would have done any of it almost if I'd gone to another school.
We have the ability to connect, and they are always engaging and willing to help.
It's such a community. It's such a great place to be.
It's a great school. I love it here. They've always treated me great, amazing.
Yeah, I love this school. I mean, honestly, I've never felt so connected, and I feel like this is just my home, and I enjoy coming here every day.
I didn't think that we could do this. I thought that we have to be sheltered and isolated, but the way that he maneuvers in the world now is different. I honestly feel like this is in the right direction.
They managed to help you out to finish, to do something in your life.
They did help me like build myself up to who I am today.
I realized that teachers were always going to be there for me. I'm really glad I found this school.
Our performance since our formation is proof of our success, and we pledge to continue this legacy as we cultivate future leaders, thoughtful innovators, and virtuous people. By being responsive to the community, educating the individual, and developing solutions for the future of education.
Aaron had several people on his team help put this together, but I want to give him a shout out for his leadership and producing and directing this. So thank you, Aaron. Very good job. Appreciate it.
Sir. Well done. So just curious, so where do these videos go? We post them on our website. You know, is there any other distribution stream for them?
Yeah, for ResponsiveEd, we're doing the 5-year anniversary this year. So you'll be seeing probably a video for the next few board meetings, and these videos are being shown on all of our social media accounts. And this one was kind of the launching video of launching our 25 year. There's another version of this that has more than 25 years in it. And then the first video is going to talk about, 1999, the first, starting up People Academies and Premiere and all that. And then it's going to go from there. And so, yeah, we'll have a video. And so these particular videos are going to be shown on our website, social media accounts, shared throughout all of our campus social media accounts. And that's the main purpose.
Great. And over the 25 years, does anybody know how many team members that we have that have been here since the beginning?
I do not have a number of all the team members we've had since we began. We can pull that data. Have you seen that anywhere?
It was pulled just the other day. It was pulled the other day, and it's not a. It's I think it's in the 20s, I think. But the next video you'll see next month, we actually have an interview with a director who's been with us from the beginning, and she kind of talks a little bit in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to keep employees, especially in this type of environment for that long, but 20 is not a bad number.
Yeah, and we got a lot of really good students who've been with us all 13 years of their entire educational career and all that type of stuff as well.
I'm sorry, I missed your question. You were asking how many people were here still that were here 25 years ago. I missed that. I thought we were talking kind of a cumulative people on the team over the 25 years. I know there's at least 10. But you're thinking 20. Lady in Del Rio is still with us. Sally Beretta, special ed teacher. She's been with us since day one.
It's pretty amazing.
At a campus. Yeah.
Very cool. All right, well, thank you. That's very well done. Okay. So the next item on our agenda is we've already done the public comments. We're going to go to consent items. And I personally don't have any questions about the consent items that were in the box. Anybody have any questions about the consent items before we move forward with the motion? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve consent items E on the agenda 1 through 10?
So moved.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Any objections? Okay. Thank you. The consent items on the agenda pass unanimously. With no objection. So we're going to move on to separate items. And do you want to start with the audit?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so we're going to consider approving the 2022-2023 annual financial and compliance reports. Welcome back. It's back.
Thank you.
You've been here before.
If I may, please allow me to introduce once again Mike Vale. This is the second year that he and his team from Vale and Park have done our audit. They do audits for a number of charters, including ours. And as you might imagine, there's a lot of work that's gone into this. And he and his team have been very good to work with. So thank you for presenting, Mike.
Okay.
People probably aren't generally just excited about an audit, but that name, Vale Park, that's just exciting.
I appreciate that.
Everybody's excited about Vale.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, my name's Mike Vale with Vale and Park CPAs, and I am here to present the audit results for ResponsiveEd Texas, and it's the fiscal year 23 audit results. And the board, yes, if we can go to the next slide, please.
I'll get you the clicker once.
Oh. For the agenda, we're going to cover the objective and scope of the audit, audit results, cover some financial highlights. The middle button. Okay, thank you. And then go over some finding and recommendation, and then open it up to any questions and answers. Q&A session. Okay. The objective of the audit was to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements as a whole were free or are free of material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. It's also to obtain reasonable assurance about material non-compliance with the compliance requirements, whether due to fraud or error. And also to conduct the audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, governmental auditing standards, and uniform guidance. For the scope of the audit, we documented and tested the accounting internal controls and internal controls over compliance. We performed a risk assessment, and we are required to plan and perform the audit to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free of material misstatement. Okay, as part of the audit results, we issued 3 different opinion letters. The first one and all the board members hopefully have a copy of the report. The first one is at the front of the report, pages 5 and 6, and that is the independent auditor's report on financial statements. And we have an unmodified opinion, and in layman's terms, it's called a clean opinion. Additionally, we have an independent auditor's report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters in accordance with government auditing standards. And that's at the back of the report on pages 50 and 51. The third opinion is independent auditor's report on compliance for each major program and on internal control over compliance required by the uniform guidance. And this is for single audit. Okay, and I'd like to point out in the report to the board, the table of contents is probably a good page to go to, just to kind of outline what is all included in this 56-page report. First section is independent auditor's report. The next section, starting on page 5, is the financial statements. Page 10 starts the notes to financial statements. On pages, starting on page 25, we have the supplementary information, and included in supplementary information are combining schedules, required TEA schedules as well. Starting on page 50, starts the compliance and internal control section. And on page 56 at the end, it shows the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. That's all of the federal grants and how you spent the money that was received on federal grants. Okay. On the financial highlights, if we go to page 5 on the statement of financial position, just changes from last year to this year. Total assets increased from 487 million to 522 million. And this was mainly due to recognition of right of use assets from implementation of ASC 842. And ASC 842 is a lease accounting standard by the Financial Accounting Standards Board, it's FASB. And they require all leases longer than 12 months to be reflected on the organization's balance sheet. And that's offset by the lease obligation payable. And that's a new standard that we implemented, or that you implemented this past year, and we audited. Okay, the total liabilities increased from 330 to 365 million. And that was mainly due to recognition of the lease payable from the implementation of the new standard. And there was also an additional 5.5 million in deferred revenue for the sale of curriculum rights by ResponsiveEd Texas to Responsive Education Solutions. And that is deferred until the transaction is completed. The overall net position was relatively unchanged at 157 million year over year. Okay, on pages 6 and 7 for statement of activities, the total revenues increased from 262 million to 270 million, or 3%. And we've have that separated between local revenues, state revenues, and federal revenues. Local revenues decreased by approximately 1 million as a result of not having a donation from Blue Learning in fiscal year 23. And this was offset by increased interest revenue during the year. State revenues increased by 13 million, which is directly attributable to ADA growth, average daily attendance. Federal revenues decreased by 4 million, which was mainly due to expiring ESSER funds. Total expenses increased from 243 million to 270 million, or 11%. And this is mainly due to ADA growth of 9%, and then inflationary pressures across all areas of operation. Okay, one recommendation that we have as a result of the audit is related to your meal count procedures. And we recommend that the school develop and follow policies and procedures to submit meal counts on a timely basis. Failure to submit the meal counts timely could lose potential reimbursements from child nutrition programs. And this is an item that we identified as part of the single audit in the testing we do around that for child nutrition.
I'm sorry, the issue there isn't a current policy or procedure around that?
Well, there is. The main thing is what we're finding in our testing is that some campuses didn't submit it daily, where it wasn't timely, and that affects the ability to get reimbursement. So.
Okay, so it's but your view of it, the materiality wasn't to go beyond a recommendation.
Yeah, well, what we've asked management or have plans to quantify that to an exact amount. It was not a material amount, but they're going to provide more exact, by campus quantification of what the impact is.
Thank you.
Okay. And then with that, we've listed, there's many more that helped as well. This is, there's a lot of people involved from Responsive Ed Texas side, providing schedules and information to us and support for all of the testing. And but we've listed and mentioned several of the key people that we worked with that we really appreciate everybody's help, and they did a great job providing information to us. And with that, we can open it up to any questions. And also I'm available whether by phone or email. If the board has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I don't have any questions. I mean, comment, and it's a good report. Talking to Chuck, the assets really considerably grown, 487 to 522. So there's a lot more to look at. It's a lot. I mean, every audit serious, but when you start at 30, 25 years ago or whatever it was, to be where it is now, it's amazing. And it's very important that the audit be done well, and it has been, so which is great. So I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
Do I ask for a motion to approve the?
You have anything else, Joe, that you comment on?
No, thank you, Mike.
That's for a motion.
Okay, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve, and I got to find my agenda item. Here it is. I can ask for a motion to approve the 2022-2023 annual financial and compliance reports that were just presented. Anyone?
So moved.
All right, great. I'm going to go with Kent moving. Lance, that was you as a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 The motion to approve the 2022-2023 annual financial and compliance reports passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much, Mike. All right, so the next report is a presentation of the 2022-2023 financial integrity rating systems for the state of Texas. And I think I get these, right?
Corey coming up.
According to them up.
I get these emails from TVA on the reports, right? The ratings of the agency. Yeah.
If we have any questions, it may be handy if you're sitting close by. All right, Joe. Joe's going to present this.
Okay. First of all, it's a delight to be able to present today. So anyway, thank you for having me here. My topic is the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas, otherwise known as Charter First. Basically, it's the TEA accountability rating system for charter schools. And in summary, it measures our performance in managing our financial resources. Note is a combination of about 20 indicators or metrics. They're either pass, fail, or they're scored. Just like in school, it's there is a numerical scale there. 0 to 69 is an F. We don't want to be there. 70 to 79 meets the standard at C. 80 to 89 is above standard at a B, and 90 to 100 is a superior achievement. One thing it's important to note: this presentation is related to the 21-22 academic year. So the information that Mike Vail just presented to us will be included in the Charter First results next year. So it's a year in arrears.
So is it listed correctly here as 2022-2023 financial integrity report? Because it looks back to?
Yes.
That's just, it's the correct way to say it. Okay.
Yeah, it's published this year.
Still the 20.
During this school year, but
Correct.
But on that data. Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay, great. So I just want to note, I'm going to present hopefully a succinct summary of this because there's a lot there. But in your board materials, there is the detailed financial accountability report for both PHS and TCPA. And there's a lot of information on the TEA website. And if you ever want to talk Charter First, feel free to call me. I'm always happy to field calls. Okay, I'm going to start with some pass-fail indicators. So these are all, it's either a yes or a no. It's binary, 1 or 0. But for all of these indicators, both premier high schools and TCPA charters pass them. So the reason why they're numbered, those numbers correspond to the detailed report. First of all, number 1, our annual financial report, which will be referred to as the AFR, that Mike Vail just presented to us, was submitted on time. It was. We did have an unmodified or clean opinion. We were in compliance with the payment terms of all of our debt agreements. We did make timely payments to TRS, the Texas Workforce Commission, IRS, and other government agencies. And our total net assets, like assets less liabilities, were greater than 0. Those were indicators 1 through 5. And had we failed those, the maximum we could achieve on Charter First was a score of 69, which would obviously be failing. So these are considered critical indicators, which we did pass. Indicator number 6 was the average change in total net assets over 3 years, less than a 25% decrease. Basically, both PHS and TCPA have grown. So clearly we passed that as well. Had we not, we would have been capped at a score of 89. Once again, these are not scored indicators. These are pass-fail indicators. The last one on this page that are both the charters passed was our annual financial report, or AFR, clear, free of any internal control material weaknesses. It was, so we passed that as well. So all those indicators, both charters passed. Make some sense? All right, moving on to the next page, next slide. These are our scored indicators, so not pass-fail. If you look at the footnote, which is probably hard to see, but you can either earn 10 points or 5 points as a maximum amount on these. And for many of them, there is a sliding scale. So you can earn partial credit, if you will. But for all of these, both of our charters received the full points allowable under the Charter First framework. The first one being the number of days cash on hand sufficient to cover our operating expenses. In order to achieve full credit of a 10, we needed greater or equal to 60. As you can see, we were well above that at 129 and 234 respectively. Number 8, current assets or current liabilities sufficient to cover our short-term debt. So more short-term metric. Once again, full points of 10. Did our revenues equal or exceed expenses? And if not, was our cash on hand greater than 40 days? The answer to both of those was yes and yes. So we achieved full points on that metric. Number 11, ratio of long-term liabilities to total assets sufficient for long-term solvency. So more longer-term financial health metric. Once again, full points for both charters. Debt service coverage ratio to meet the required debt service. You can see the formula written, but at the end of the day, our financial condition was satisfactory to meet the required debt service. Full points. Number 13, debt to capitalization ratio reasonable to continue operating. Basically ensures our long-term liabilities are not too high, which they are not. Full points. And then number 15, not have a 15% decline in students to staff ratio over 3 years. So it just looks at is your ADA and are your enrollments declining and your staff remains relatively constant, was not an issue for us. Thus, all of these indicators in the Charter First framework, both charters receive full points allowable under Charter First. Does that make sense? And I realize I'm going through this relatively quickly, so please, if you have questions, let me know.
Very smooth, Joe.
Thank you. All right. Continued on with scored indicators. Both charters received full points for these metrics. The external independent auditor indicated our AFR was free of any non-compliance with grants, contracts, and laws. It was. And did we post the required financial information on our website? We did. So once again, full points under these scored metrics allowable by the Charter First framework for both charters. Oh, sorry, I didn't click it. There you go. All right, next one. We did have on one metric, one charter receive less than full points available. That is on indicator number 14. It's the school's administrative cost ratio, defined as admin costs over other costs. Probably can't see it, but the formula is actually in the note below. Basically, TCPA received full points for it because Premier is a little more instructional efficient model than our TCPA model. Because of how this formula is worded or how it's calculated on that specific metric, PHS did not receive full points. We received 4 of 10. Interesting to note, in the prior year, PHS received 8. And I'm cheating a little bit looking ahead to the audit that was just provided. My anticipation is next year when this is presented again, that PHS will also earn 8 points. But for the 21-22 year, PHS earned 4 of 10 on this specific metric. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, this next one, do want to talk a little more detail because this is the only metric that we quote unquote failed. It is specifically number 17. Did the comparison of public education information management system, otherwise known as PIEMS, data to like information in the charter schools AFR result in a total variance of less than 3% of all expense by function? So we submit our AFR to TEA right around this time, think November-ish. In January, we submit via PIEMS all of our expense information. On our AFR, it includes both state, federal, and local funds. What we did in error is we submitted state funds only for our expenses. The reason why we did that, which was inaccurate, a lot of times we will exclude federal funds because they're reimbursable, meaning it's just an offset and then the bottom line is basically net zero. So a lot of our budgets, we will look excluding federal funds. But at the end of the day, when you look at just expenses in isolation, what we submitted for state funds did not match our AFR, which was our total organization. If we combined our state funds and federal funds, the variance would have been 0. But once again, we did not answer the question that was asked. We did appeal to TEA. That appeal was denied. Our basis of appeal was, once again, the data was not inaccurate, but we did not answer the question that was asked. That appeal was denied. Thus, both charters failed it. We do have procedures in place to ensure that does not happen again. Once again, not inaccurate data, but we did not answer the question as it was intended to be answered. Thus, we were capped on our charter first score at 89 or B, if that makes sense. Is that somewhat clear, I hope?
Yeah, it's very clear.
Okay. So final score on charter first, Premier High School, we did achieve 94 points, which would have been an A, but we did have the 89 ceiling, which I just described. So our score was B, above standard achievement rating. For CPA was very similar. We actually achieved all 100 points on the scored metrics, but because of the indicator number 17 that we did fail, we were capped in an 89 ceiling. Thus, TCPA achieved an above standard achievement rating as well of B.
Okay, what's the impact, is going from A to B, or is there an impact?
There's no impact being going from an A to a B. Even at a C, there's no consequences internal to TEA. It's when you get below C that you start having issues with expansion and other things.
Good. It's a very good report. There's no question about it. And the numbers are good. And as far as the indicator on 17, the procedure was updated pretty quickly, and we won't have that issue again. And you know that for sure already because we've just gone through the audit.
We will triple check that next year.
Good. All right, great. So do you have anything more, Joe, or that's the end?
No, unless there's any questions.
No, well done, by the way.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from anybody else?
And that is just a presentation, so there's no
Yeah,
action.
no vote. All right, but yeah, again, well done. And Corey, good job with the help in preparing it, and the whole team. It's good.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, so we'll go to the next item, which is consider approval of the to purchase property in Salina.
So this is a community just north of Prosper. Robert is going to present an option that he found with his team, and it's a very exciting option that will allow us to continue serving more families in that Frisco, Prosper area, where he'll show you how many are on a waiting list, which is pretty phenomenal. So Salina,
Salina. Sorry,
Texas,
the
it's
Boston
Salina.
accent coming out of it.
So
Sorry.
All right, so we've, Frisco, Prosper, that area, if you've been in those two areas, they're continuing to grow. So the next wave of the future is moving further north out towards Salina, Texas. So Salina is one of the fastest growing communities that's, it's about 40 miles north of Dallas. Their population growth in 2023 was 34.51%. The growth since 2020 has been 143%. Right now, there are no other charter schools, in Salina. So continuing our efforts to continue to expand in the DFW area. This is an area that we know we have pretty good certainty in our marketing research that this is going to be a great area for us to be at. So let's go to the next slide. The location is just shy of about 6 miles north of where our current Prosper location is. So if you took the students that go to our Prosper campus and put them on a scattergram, some of our Prosper, kiddos go to they live in this, area. So as you'll see, when we'll get down here in a minute, we have quite a waiting list. So there are 34,596 households in Prosper. Again, Salina is continuing to grow because Prosper is getting built out. The current wait list that we have in these two schools in this area We have 1,939 kiddos on the waiting list in Prosper. So if some of those parents, when we get built out in Salina, move over to that, we would be able to pull in some of that wait list in Prosper, as well as we have a 2,793 wait list in the Frisco area as well. So these are just a couple. I wanted to show you a couple of those, just so you know, in comparison. 2016, we purchased property in Frisco, 10 acres at 3.375. 2017, Flower Mound, we purchased a property just a little over almost $4.1 million, 18 acres. 2019, we approved purchase of Prosper at 3.2. That was about 22 acres. And then we are proposing here today in 2023 that we would make a recommendation to the board to approve the land purchase of 3.2, 19 acres in Salina. So this would be most likely a 2026 opening. So we're banking the land now so that we can start preparation for about 3 years out, 2026 opening. And this campus too, let me just go to the next slide real quick. This would be a founders campus. K-8, 9 through 12 grades would be fed in from the Prosper High School. We anticipate the enrollment would be about 650. New construction, as I said, about 2 to 3 years as the infrastructure in that area continues to develop. And there is a possible sale of a portion of the land that we've been negotiating with the church that's also interested in going into that area. So if we don't need all of the 19 acres, because that's kind of the way it's sectioned off right now, we may be able to section off some of it for a sale to a church. It's also looking for land in that area as well.
Okay.
To recoup some of that 3.25.
Right. And you're confident that the amount is 3.25, or
Yes.
Is that locked in already?
Yes, we have a contract
for that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And we've been through the due diligence with the city and all of that as well. So we've had the contract about 90 days. So we've been through the due diligence.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Any questions?
That Prosper High School, is that one of ours?
Go ahead.
Prosper, I'm sorry, Marvin.
It says 9 through 12 grade will feed into Prosper High School. Is that
Yes, sir. That's our founders, Prosper.
Okay, good.
Sorry, it's not the ISD Prosper High School. It's founders Prosper.
Yeah, good catch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't have a question about the land, but it was the wait list. So you got almost 2,000 people on a wait list, room for 650 when we're up and running. How do we handle that wait list? Is it a lottery? Is it how do you choose? How do you select?
It is a lottery if you have an oversubscription by grade.
By grade.
So you look at each grade. If you have 2 sections, you can hold 22 kids each. There'd be 44 slots in that grade. If there's more than 44 that apply, you would have a lottery for that grade.
Yeah.
In addition to that too, because we know we've had good success in that area. We have another location that we'll be bringing back to the board at a future meeting that is south in the Allen area. That is a piece of property that we're looking at about 5 acres. So that's about 5 miles. So we would be able to have a K-8 founders at a location south of there to be able to also anticipate taking some of that wait list and putting in that campus as well.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, I mean, those are growing areas.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully the folks in Salina will forgive me for calling it Salina. But Prosper and Frisco.
So if there's no other questions, we're asking for approval to purchase the property in Salina for the
$3,250,000. Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the property in Salina for $3,250,000. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Just to make sure clear too.
We got to get a
we
second.
might,
first. We got to get a second first.
Go ahead.
Second.
Marvin, do a second. Second, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 You're also approving financing potentially, just FYI as a part of the, if it's necessary for us to do financing on the property, so you're approving the purchase and the financing if we need to.
I got to restate the motion. Yeah. So I got to restate the motion. Strike the previous motion, even though it's been approved.
So we're asking for you to consider approval and possible financing.
We're asking for actual approval of the purchase of the property as well as financing, but we don't know what the financing that we're approving is.
Not this time, no. Most likely we would purchase it with cash, but there is a possibility we could want to finance it at some point in the future. So
how do we do that?
We'll bring it back to you. We'll bring it back to you if we're going to end up financing the property. We'd use cash for now and then come back and ask for financing and give you terms.
Okay. So we can leave the motion as is, the approval as is.
Don't strike it.
Don't strike it.
Okay.
Leave everything the way it was, Sarah.
Okay.
All right. It's that time of year to have elections of board officers. We have a slide here that shows the current makeup of the board. And Sarah, give us the perspective on this. These are board officers, and these are more than annual terms, right? But I didn't see that on here. So you're wanting us to just act on all of these right now?
Yes.
And then they would be 3-year terms?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the current makeup of the board. And you can see Ben is president, Marvin vice president, Kent as secretary, and then the members here on the board. I personally think it's working well, and I like the makeup of the officers. So do any of you that are not officers have any thought on this motion? It's always awkward for people to say they want to be in a position or don't want to be in a position. Can I just make a motion?
Let me speak a second.
Okay.
Because of my distance here, I would be open and privileged to just be a member and have a vice president who is more close to where the meetings are. But I'm at the board's disposal, and whatever you guys want is fine with me. Were you able to hear all that?
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Marvin.
Okay.
So back to the slide there, Sarah or Aaron. So I would make a recommendation that we have officers that are in Texas. Thank you, Marvin, for that, and appreciate you being on the board the longest. Hopefully with your sell your company, and you'll be able to travel and do some other things and not feel the pressure to be on every board meeting. I would recommend that Ben stay as president, that Kent become vice president. And if you would consider it, Dr. Bowen, you become secretary, because again, you'd all be in Texas. So
wouldn't have to sign as much.
So can I make that motion? I made that motion. So is there a second?
Second.
And Marvin seconds. So can I take a vote? You want me to take the vote?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, you should. Oh, I'll take it. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All right. And as we've just
the fact that nobody objected to that, that's good.
And as we've discussed before, we've talked about with our other business entities potentially, and I appreciate out-of-state board members being willing to potentially move into other board roles and not necessarily even be on the Texas board. So we'll be talking about more of that in the next 6 months. So thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Want to go to the fifth item?
Yep. So the fifth item is consider the approval or approving the sale of Bright The sale of Bright Thinker curriculum to Responsive Education Solutions.
All right.
And so I'm going to hand this, I'm sorry, to.
Yeah, all right. For the benefit of the record, it's Robert Davison presenting, Chief Operating Officer, Responsive Ed, Texas. So thank you guys for letting me talk about this issue. We've been talking about selling the curriculum from, that's been developed by Responsive Ed Texas. We've been discussing this for a number of years. So I just wanted to, for those of you guys who are here in the room, you have the notes here that I'm going to be going through as well. So we'll try to get those notes to you guys who are on the video as well, later today. So, but the legal points that we hired Joe Hoffer to represent Responsive Ed Texas in this transaction. He drafted the documents that we sent to you guys earlier this week: the bill of sale and assignment, the curriculum license agreement, the board resolution, which we forwarded to you guys in the board folder this week. What Joe did for us was he identified the company called Forvis, which is a national accounting and advisory services firm to prepare a fair market evaluation of the curriculum. So, which we'll talk about that here in just a second. What they determined the value of the curriculum would be. He's also insured us as your attorney. Ensured us that the entire transaction that we're proposing today would be conducted in compliance with applicable laws, regulations, rules, and guidelines governing both nonprofit organizations and Texas charter schools, specifically including ensuring that the board did not have any actual or apparent prohibited conflicts of interest. So that's kind of the legal points of it. The business points of it, Forvis determined for us what the fair market value of the curriculum was, which is $6,054,000. In addition to Responsive Ed, paying for the fair market value of the curriculum, they would continue to develop the curriculum over the next few years to continue providing new courses for us. They would also provide the curriculum to us at a 25% discount until June 30th of 2029. Third point, Responsive Ed would provide the curriculum to us at cost after June 30th of 2029. So another benefit that Responsive Ed Texas will benefit from in this transaction, while we will continue to keep a few of the employees that have been with us doing this curriculum development for a number of years, the Responsive Ed Texas will transfer this $1.5 million in payroll that's currently being paid by Responsive Ed Texas to continue to develop the curriculum. That annual cost will be transferred over, and we'll no longer have that expense. That'll be transferred over to Responsive Ed. Responsive Ed being we kind of refer to that as the national organization. So the next steps that we're recommending today is we are asking that you guys, as the board, authorize Chuck as the CEO for Responsive Ed Texas to approve the board resolution that was sent to you guys to sell our curriculum and related intellectual property to Responsive Ed for the market value of $6,054,000. And just last point here that I'd make, if approved, we will disclose this transaction to TEA as a related party transaction. Most likely it would show up on a future audit as well as a related party transaction. So with that, I turn it back to the board for a recommendation.
And as an employee of both, I'm going to abstain from voting on this item as a Responsive Ed Texas board member. And Robert, I think the way it's drafted by Joe is Robert will be signing for Responsive Ed Texas and I will sign for Responsive Ed.
Okay. Any questions about that? Previously we had talked about what the original valuation was, and then that was redone to make sure that there was the right market value. And so it grew a pretty good amount, about 17-18%.
Yeah, I think it was at 5.5. It was 5.
When the valuation increased.
So it's almost $1 million increase
so
in
it's-
valuation
that's-
since we started the process. I think we discussed it about 2019, 20, something like that.
And math is not great, but yeah, okay. So if there are no questions, I will make the motion to approve the sale of the curriculum from Bright Thinker to Responsive Education, the curriculum and the intellectual property, as I think you referred to it, for the $6,054,000. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Marvin. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
With the Chuck abstaining, the motion passes unanimously and the sale is approved. That brings us to the end of the agenda. Is there anything else anybody would like to bring up? All right, then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good to see
Where do you live?
everybody.
North Dallas.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for being here.